Thank you for staying with us here on Flow 94.9 FM, the Flow of Godson State. Good morning. My name is Wisdom Thomas. Politics seems to be in the air, but the big issue is governance, which seems to have taken the backseat. But the people are still clamoring for responsive governance that will face leadership realities and meet their immediate demands. Let's bring it at home. However, over the week, it came as a shock the withdrawal of accreditation of Abia State Polytechnic by the National Board for Technical Education, MBTE. This has left the government of the day rattled as they find solution to this long jam. Politicians are equally jumping on it to score good points. Well, on the platform today, we are going to be looking at this very issue, including the milestone of the government of the day, as well as the security situation across the state. And joining me this morning to look at these issues is the mouthpiece of the government, a veteran communicator, a journalist, and the Commissioner for Information, Dr. Eze Chikamnayo. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm very much okay.
Good morning to our dear listeners out there.
Good morning to our dear listeners. We are still very much live on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Flow949FM. You can see the images of what is happening here in the studios. We're going to dive into the situations already, and we're going to start off, sir, from the issue of security. With the security situation across the state and a step which so many regard as a very bold one the government made in destroying shanties and brothels along Lokpanta. Some are asking these very important questions. Beyond that, what is the government of Dr. Okezie doing in terms of security in places like Isukwato, Mwahia North, and other places in the state, just to ensure that there is adequate security?
Yeah, thank you, my dear brother. The truth is that what is going on in Umunneochi now is part of a holistic approach towards stamping out the menace of terrorism masquerading as kidnapping and violent headers attack. You are aware that the governor has called first in the area of security, and of course Abia has become the oasis of peace and security in the whole of Southeast. And we started noticing after a while, some few months ago, that the Umunneochi area, the Square Axis, and some other flashpoints were cropping up. And the governor did something very ingenious. He set up a security committee at the local government level. The Umunneochi Security Committee, for instance, has His Royal Majesty Eze Okechukwu as the chairman, myself, Commissioner for Information, I'm from there, so I'm the secretary of the committee. The chairman of the local government is there, the honorable member representing Umunneochi is there, and then all the town union chairmen and all key stakeholders, including some indigenous organizations like Umunneochi. They are all part of that effort. So what the governor did is let the communities take ownership of their own security, in which case we are now part of the intelligence platform available to the police, the army, the civil defense, the other security agencies. And I can assure you that ingenious method is working. That's why you saw that demolition. Because when we now went into the local government, we discovered that when these herdsmen abduct somebody and they are being pursued by the police, they distill inside the cattle market. And over 2,000 shanties, without any form of access, you can only trek into those shanties. You know how dangerous it is. Those shanties are just squeezed into one another. Over 2,000 of them. No police station. It's an entirely ungoverned space for harboring criminality. For instance, when the bulldozers were moving on those shanties, stuff were falling from the ceiling. Weapons, stolen items, rugs, several things were falling from the ceiling of those shanties. It was shocking. And when we got intelligence that these guys, shortly after kidnapping, move into this place, and because there's no identification, all of them, whoever is in that place, is seen as a cattle market trader. It was difficult to isolate the original and real genuine cattle traders from these guys that are coming. And the way they move in is that when a trailer is coming from the north, it stops at the cattle market, discharges all the people who are passengers, and then moves away. So there's no way of identifying which passenger is actually a cattle trader and which one is a terrorist. And these ones that are terrorizing us, actually immediately they come in, these shanties serve as immediate landing port for them. So the idea of demolishing those shanties is to dislodge those people, to ensure they have no landing pad at the cattle market, and to ensure that whoever is coming into the cattle market is properly profiled. The genuine traders are, of course, without let or hindrance, allowed to do their trade, but those whose identities we cannot ascertain and who have no reason to be in that environment are immediately handed over to the security agencies.
Okay.
So that's exactly the intent. So it's not like you see in the social media some of unscrupulous persons claiming that we are demolishing Igbo houses.
But then apart from Lokpanta, the axis of Isikwato and other parts of Abia, what is the government doing quickly in those regards?
Yeah, Isikwato Uturu is actually the flashpoint. The challenges of security, anyone around Abia, is localized around the areas where we have boundary with another state. Umunneochi shares boundary with Anambra, with Ebonyi, with Enugu, with Imo State, and the Uturu shares boundary with Imo State as well. So every time you have that challenges between Uturu, Isikwato, and Okigwe. But now, at the Executive Council meeting yesterday, the government approved the immediate reconstruction of all the roads where you have the potholes that normally lead to a break and before these guys come into the road. These are federal roads really, but we cannot afford to be legalistic about this challenge now. So we have decided to deploy government resources to make sure that there is free movement in those areas where people slow down and they are waylaid by these guys. Secondly, the same security committee which is now working in Umunneochi and working for the people of Umunneochi. If you go to Umunneochi now, about 8 checkpoints have been set up. A new joint vigilante group has been formed, and several good things are happening, and the result is showing. Since after the burial of Osinachi, where we had the last incident till now, we've not had any other incident because we are on the trail of these guys, and that's the way to go. Let communities take ownership of their security and work with security agencies. So in Isikwato, the new arrangement now is to set up the same security committee, indigenous to the people there, to ensure that there's synergy between the security agencies and the communities, and above all, to ensure that we comb all of our forests and remove everybody and anybody that is inside this forest doing any type of business. We have to make sure that there is no ungoverned space in our state.
It is still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions here this morning. We're looking at issues bordering on security, the milestone of perhaps the government of the day, and of course the accreditation of Abia Polytechnic, which is coming on the heels of issues of non-payment of salaries to the tune of 30 months. However, let's talk about, it's been 7 years of your principal, the governor of the state, Dr. Okezi Bazu, and at this very point, his tenure is winding down, and looking at some of his milestones as considered by a lot of persons, which includes the Osisoma flyover, which is up and running at this very point, the Abowe Road, to mention but a few. Do you agree with some persons who feel at this very point that the government hasn't done quite enough for the state?
Well, it's a subjective term, and a lot of people are entitled to their political views. But I want you to understand very clearly that Governor Okezi Bazu has performed excellently well in all sectors, in all sections of Abia State. Let's start with the summer flyover, the interchange, because it's beyond the flyover. You look at the length and you look at definitions, and you know that what we have done there is a massive interchange. And let's look at 2015. What was that spot like? It was a place that was jam-packed and dirty, and it was a squalor, and people spent 6 hours on the minimum, about 1 hour at that spot and about 3 hours on the other spot, and then you keep meandering through about trying to find your way into the town. 2015 to 2017, 2017 to 2021, and now going to 2022, 2023. Governor Bazu has changed the narrative of that particular space. Today, instead of people spending 3 hours, 4 hours moving from Osioma Junction to Abia Park, the time spent is less than 20 minutes. You can think of the economy of scale when it has to do with what we have saved as a people, the time that could have been wasted at that junction. Governor Bazo has transformed the place. A beauty to behold. The roads are free. The aesthetics is tremendous. And street lights adorn the whole place, leading to complete annihilation of the type of criminality that used to take place at that spot. And then the Abowore road that takes us between 2 to 3 hours to access to the park is now a double lane with very good horticulture at the middle, with street lights, with drainages done. Who has done that before Governor Bazo? That's the challenge. This state was created about 30 years ago. Governor Bazo has been in office for 7 years. So how come that some people find it difficult to say that this first governor that is able to solve this problem and put a permanent end to it has not done well?
Okay.
That type of view is not only jaundiced, but it is completely parochial. You must give honor to whom honor is due. Governor Bazo has performed excellently well in the area of road construction. Over 130 roads done and dusted. Even before the Osioma Bridge was completed and Abowore Road opened up, Osokwa Road, Ururuka Road, and all of the other access into Abia has been established. Then you look at internal roads within Obohie. The clusters have been opened up. Umuola Road, Ukebu Road, Ehere Road, all of the streets around Ochefu, they have been done. Listen, there is every reason for you to help me communicate to everybody that cares to listen. That's beyond politics. Please, let us give honor to whom honor is due. Governor Bazo has done excellently well in all sectors.
Okay.